Good evening, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Tonight, we are going to be talking about Lake Lanier and the American asylum system. I was just going to go with Eastern State and Williamsburg, Virginia, but it kind of just led me down a whole sad, traumatic world that is our asylum system, that I just had to, it's just more going to be an overview, basic history of them. And I mean, let's face it, we all know if asylum's in the name and it's an old building, it's probably fucking haunted. Actually, both of these subjects ended up being something that was very like, I went into it for the haunting stories and came out of it completely depressed because of the fucked up history that is behind these places. So let's get into this. And hopefully you guys can hear tonight. Oh crap. I hope this doesn't. Just gonna leave it alone. Last night when I was streaming, we couldn't hear the people talking for some reason, so hopefully that's a little better tonight. So let's get into it. Lake Lanier. I'm gonna tell the little bit of the haunted first, and then I'm going to tell the history that most people know, and then I'm going to tell the real history that most of us are kind of just learning, which is super fucked up. So, unfortunately, Lake Lanier has, to date, had over 600 deaths, multiple missings. I mean, a lot of, oh God. And I died. Immediately. Cool. Alright. Anyways. It's, of these over 600 deaths, it's 500 boating deaths, hundreds of just, drownings, and 27 missing. And I think that's gone up. I think those stats were actually from 2018, maybe. And so many people claim this place is just completely haunted, along with the whole people will feel like hands tugging on them, pulling them under the water. There are multiple stories of people jumping in the water and then just not coming back. Like, oh, gotta get them, Cogsworth. Just not coming back up and then resurfacing weeks later, miles away. And it's just ways that just don't make sense. Are people just being found, but it's like, they weren't stuck on anything. They're just laying at the bottom. And there was no reason why they would have jumped in the water and just passed out. One of the bigger stories of actually seeing entities is Susie. And I found two different versions. It's basically the same thing though, and that they were two girls, Susie and her friend, driving, and they hit the bridge that crossed over Lake Lanier, and the car just lost control and they went into the water. Now, a body was found a couple weeks later, but they couldn't determine, it was just so degraded and stuff that they couldn't determine which girl it might be. And then years later, because this happened in the 50s, so years later, in the 90s, they were rebuilding the bridge, and in that construction, they found Susie's car, and Susie was in it. And the haunting is that you will see one story is the lady in white, to which people equate her to being Susie walking the bridge. That I did find a lady in blue, which people equate Susie's friend, and she was actually found in this story. They found her with no hands, and they say the ghost will have no hands. And so I would say either person would freak me the fuck out. You also have a story of of shadow figures, of course, but one shadow figure will actually have like one of those old timey rafts, with the stick, pushing himself. And there's a story of a family boating. They're boating at night, and they see the raft man, and they call out to him, and he jumps in the water to swim at them. Well, this freaks them the fuck out. So they put their lights on it, and all of a sudden, the boat, him, gone. Nothing. They're looking all around. Nothing. Totally gone. I would shit my pants. For sure. I would shit my pants if that happened to me. Now, for the history of Lake Lanier, the history, and even what you'll find on, like the first documentary I found on it, this was the history they gave. So Lake Lanier was officially made in about the 1950s. And it was the Army engineering group took over, came into this area in this county and said, we want to make sure Georgia has enough water always in its own right, and then also this will help electricity in Atlanta, so we're putting up a dam. They found one guy paid super cheap for his like 3 acres, and then everyone else just got kicked the fuck out. The government was like, ours now, thank you, goodbye. There were about 20 cemeteries that they said they moved the bodies, but evidence is kind of pointing otherwise, that they did not, at the very least, didn't get all of them like they were supposed to. And then they just flooded out this land, and even to a point where they flooded it so high and then just cut off the tops of the trees. They didn't even just like uproot trees. They just flooded it and went, well, that tree's still sticking up. Let's take the top off. So even authorities now will, like every year they have to, because it's such a tourist spot, will have to put out news shit of like, please very fucking careful, because there are still houses, there's still a racetrack, there's still fucking whole ass trees down there that the government just put fucking water over. And these ghost stories are coming from these families saying that it's the cemeteries, is that they were kicked off their land, and that the lake is cursed. But what we are now finding out more recently, you go a couple videos down, you find out a really much more cursed story of Further County. And that's the county Lake Lanier's in. And in 1912, this town was called Oscarville. And it was a black town. And what happened was this woman, she goes home, tell her family what happened, and she said it depends on the story. I've heard a couple different versions, but two to four men attacked her. And she said 2 to 4 black men attacked her. Well, this gets her whole part of town in a tizzy. And they immediately run out and just lynch one man, just right in front of the courthouse. Arrested him and lynched him that day. And then they went and found 2 18-year-old boys, 2 teenage boys. They did have their day in court and, of course, lost. And those 2 boys were lynched, too. And a doctor was more than happy to say, please use my land to get this done. And so 5,000 people showed up to watch these boys be lynched. Now, they were interviewing the descendants of this woman, and even she says she had to move out of the area for how terribly racist it was, and that she does not believe that the boys who were lynched were the ones who actually did it. The town, the white people of the town were so pissed by this. Once they were done lynching, they weren't done. They decided that they how do I crouch down? That they just didn't want to be around any black people anymore at all. So they chased the whole town out. Nope, back up. There we go. That Push it. So they chased the whole town out, hurting people, beating people. Did I push it? Why is nothing happening? Oh, it already happened. And so by the end of it, it went from being like a 20% black county to a 0% black county, and it stayed that way for decades. So long that in 87, now I know if you're super young, you're probably like, that was so long ago. That's the year my sister was born. That's 1 year before I was born. A bunch of black leaders had to go march through it again because this town, Further County in Georgia, was not going to be integrated. Like, they were still 100% white. And they, to now this day, are one of the richest counties in America, not even just Georgia, of America. They have come a long way, though, guys. They are up to 2% African American. So woohoo to that one. Though most of the black community will still say, just don't fucking go. Don't go to Lanier. I was trying to find stats. I saw one girl was putting out that
when it's stout beer,
most of the people that go missing at Lake Lanier are black people. I couldn't find any articles of official stats on that, so I don't want to put that out as fact, but definitely something to look up if you're, I'm a terrible Googler. I'm gonna put that out there now. So if you're a better Googler than me, it's actually not that easy to find information on this. This town did a great job of just erasing all their black history completely, to where most of the stuff you find starts in the 1950s and the poor plight of those 200 white folks that lost their land. So it's just a really messed up story. These poor families, and they flooded it out, so they don't even get to go to the graves. And the only reason they know is that they had family who lived there. Their grandparents had to pass down this story. If you go to the town these days, you'll have people tell you, well, you know, it wasn't that bad, or, oh, did that happen? But one thing they did do that makes me kind of super sus on them is that doctor who was like, please lynch these men in my yard. They restored that house. They made sure that house kept its history and is now their house of commerce. And it was where like their people meet, you know. It's a government run fucking building now. And they made sure it kept its history. And that's just real messed up. Real messed up. But, oh, he's talking to us. Let's use dog meat. Oh, man. I wonder what we're going to run into. I have a feeling we're about to hit some hard stuff. I think I'm going to have to use my cheat and make myself some better armor because I'm dying way too easy and it's nighttime and we're about to trek through a bunch of ground where stuff attacks us commonly, and this mod causes way harder things to attack us. So come with me, Nick. Enjoy his. All right. Let's get that bastard. Wow, Cogsworth. Okay? You say jump, I'll say how high. Inside you got all right. Hey, come look at this. The detective life isn't easy. What am I looking at? The purified water. Thank you. Rounds. Fusion cells, nougat cherry, love a nougat cherry. Oh yeah. Okay. Now, while we're in here, I am going to use my cheat to make myself some better armor. I was trying not to cheat too much, but this has to be done. Okay. I think it's under... Ooh, let's level up. So that's your story of Lake Lanier. Why it's haunted or cursed. And probably a place I don't ever plan on going. Not just because of the terrible history or believing in ghosts, but more just because it's disgusting. I mean, there's just houses and shit. And they were built in a time when they like used asbestos and stuff. Dead bodies. Tons of way too many dead bodies. Way too many dead bodies for me to ever be like, can't wait to go. No, thank you. Let's see. Here we go. I think it's under my miscellaneous. There we go. We need items. Should I do apparel or armor? Let's just do... I didn't mean to do that one. Go back. Actions. I think I'm gonna get my... I think I'm gonna do the Maxon's battle coat. Because it looks good. And why not get a captain's hat, too? Protect my noggin. Alright. Back. Oh. Gonna go ahead and load up on some stim packs. I was completely out of stim packs. Health. Stim packs. Stim packs. Stim packs. Stim packs. Stim packs. Alright. And I think I'm good on ammo. Pretty sure. Okay. Let's go to our apparel. Put on our Maxon's jacket. And captain's hat. Why did I get a faded trench coat? How you drop that? R. I don't want that. There we go. Alright. Let's go. So now we head into, we're leaving Lake Lanier, heading to the history of asylums, which I don't even know why I turned the page. My kid ripped out my notes and ripped them to shreds. So this is going to be kind of super broken history. Hey, buddy. Look how cool I look. Fine. Get him. Yeah. Being a badass. Got my gun ready. Okay. So, Eastern State is known as the first asylum, built in 1768 in Williamsburg, Virginia. And its first residents there were treated incredibly poorly, super duper poorly. You know, cages, beatings, starvation, the works, you know, the usual stuff. I found in looking up history on just how the special needs and the mentally ill were treated in American history, it would commonly go from your family took care of you, the state took care of you, your family took care of you, abuse all the way. Just abuse all the way. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit. So 1800s rolls around, and the Europeans are starting the moral, what they call it, the moral treatment. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, oh my God, no. because we all know, when I think moral treatments, I think they've gotten the church involved, and whenever the church gets involved, then it's abuse for the mentally ill, because it's beat the demons out or starve the demons out, or, you know, it never turns out well. So I immediately rolled my eyes at this, but I will say I was wrong on this one. So the idea of the moral treatment was, you know, less beatings, more talking, you know. Let's not strap them down. Let's give them air. Let's let them go out and walk. Let's, you know, build these buildings. Let's not crowd them in together. Let's give them each their own room, one-on-one doctor treatment, and stuff like that, which is awesome. And walks and fresh air. And so these beautiful buildings were starting to be built. And they actually were so nice. So each building was built to maybe have like 200 people in it. And it actually started asylum tourism, which is where, if you were a little better off, you could check yourself into asylum for like a week, you know, chill out, do the fun stuff, and then check out. Now, this is still a time of, oh my God, what kind of terrible aim was that? Mole rats are going to take me down. What the hell? This is still a time of pretty much anybody here, though, is still being put here. Their families are dropping them off. It was about 68% just forced incarceration, pretty much. So, but it was nicer. It was a time that was just a bit nicer. Is I just had a total brain fart for some reason. I was like, blah, 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 and brain fart. So, which brings me, so there was actually, so before the Europeans brought over the moral code, in the Williamsburg one, the Eastern State one, they actually had where, the guy leading it started doing that. He started wanting to treat his patients better, wanting to,
bloody bandages. Cognitive contractus. You gotta stick together, pal. At least until we find Kellogg. What do you think, boy? Enough to go on?
But the government officials didn't want to give him money and stuff, and unfortunately he died. He ended up killing himself, which was super sad, but for the time that he was there, he was ahead of his, not only just ahead of his time, but his patients lived better lives. And in this time, so this woman came around and was like, we got to get one of these hospitals in every state. The government needs to be helping their people. And that's how you ended up with an asylum in every state. And for a while it was better. It was okay, you know. It's the windows, it's the air, it's what they were working towards. Unfortunately, as the 1800s were ending and we're heading into the 1900s, we're heading into a depression, and we're heading into wars, multiple wars and drafts, which means these places are not getting the money they need, because one of the first places states go, but do they really need the funds? Is unfortunately, it's a fucking jaguar, and he hit me. Somebody get him. Yes. Oh, beat his ass. Let me go ahead. That's some intense music. So just in case, let's go ahead and get a little stim pack in there. A lot of states also went ahead with the thought process of, look, man, we're paying for old people to have their own place and mental patients to have their own place. Seems unnecessary. So they went ahead and shut down. They went ahead and made it to where being elderly was a mental illness, and just combined the two. So then right there, the whole idea behind this project of give them space, fucking gone. And now they are back to being piled. Their facilities are starting to get overcrowded. On top of this, we're not putting any money into this facility, and we're also going to go ahead and overcrowd it. Drafts are happening. So nurses and doctors are a lot harder to find. They are also having issues. So, well, to try to help this. So, okay, let me rewind. So doctors and nurses are harder to find. Also, with doctors who didn't get drafted, they're wanting to work at the private places, not the public places. A lot like what's happening today. They're either going a completely different way. They don't want to work with the special needs.
What do you think, boy? Enough to go on?
Or they are going ahead and they're starting their own practices. And this is the era of, well, let's try electroshock. Let's try tying them to a wheel and spinning them hundreds of times. Let's do lobotomies. Let's see if we could treat syphilis with this other virus and, not getting consent for that. This is that time. These are the doctors who are left behind. They want to try new things because this whole fresh air, oh God, at least he was easy to kill. Oh, that's just a rad roach. I'm like, oh my God, little monster. They feel like the whole wide windows and crap just isn't working. It's not working. So, let's not worry about it. Let's do something else. Unfortunately, it's kind of like, but let's not acknowledge how we weren't even ever doing it right in the first place. But that's another story. So, and these doctors are also, oh my God. Okay, they kind of went everywhere. They dispersed very widely. Oh, don't hit me. He's on fire. Do I need to back up? Okay. The truck's gonna explode. Rad roach. Those things freak me out. So now this is the time you tend to see on TV the American Horror Story level stuff, the abuse. And this is also a time, we're getting closer to like the 1950s and stuff, where it kind of peaks off. Oh. What am I supposed to do? Check the assault truck?
Another one of the stogies.
And this is also a time where people not only wanted to dump off their special needs, and that we weren't actually getting any diagnoses for special needs. It was just kind of, are you embarrassing our family? Yeah, let's check you over here. This was also a terrible time for women. Women have always been able to, if you weren't going to follow the status quo, or if your husband wanted to divorce you, if, it was just any reason, really. It could literally be any reason. If you were caught masturbating, just anything, your family could throw you into an insane asylum. And quite often you were thrown in. There are a lot of stories of people saying, for the people who could act normal, the abuse was so bad there, because not only were there treatments, just straight up abuse, the nurses and stuff were abusing them too, that they, for the ones that could act normal, they just learned to act normal so they could get out, hopefully. And if they did get out, a lot of times suicide happened, because the fact of the matter is they weren't cured or anything. They just didn't want to be in that place, And it's so fucking sad. And then for the people who couldn't act normal, well, they just were abused. Even my grandma got put into an asylum for a while and got electroshock therapy. She would never talk about it, just that it fucking happened, and she didn't want to fucking talk about it. So, and this is how it went. So this one journalist decided to go undercover, and she put herself in, and she ended up writing articles about how bad it was there, how many deaths are happening, the terrible things, the abuse that's happening. And good and bad came from this. So the good that came was America looked around and went, ooh, that's kind of fucked up. We need to stop that. Don't do that. But instead of just trying to fix these homes, because a sad truth about it is that homes like that are needed. Not like that, but homes are needed because not everywhere has a place to go, and some people do need a lifetime of care, and they need a safe place to have that lifetime of care. But the American government instead said, shut them all down with no safety nets, nothing. So that now when you go to these, now to this day, our citizens are struggling because while hospitals do exist, there's no long-term stay like there used to be. There's no living like that. Some places you can find homes and stuff.
Is this the place? Huh? Is he in here, boy?
Right. Find a way in. Now people are struggling. You know, you have families that can't take care of, don't know how to take care of, not a lot of resources. So unfortunately things are better, but not like better, you know? And that's the sad. So now when you find these buildings, they're all known for being haunted. I don't think not one of these closed down ones doesn't have a history of ghosts. That you could find an episode of Ghost Hunters on or something. And it's because these places were just filled with so much misery and just so much discontent. I did forget to mention though, as we head out of it, is that they did have, so back when they were having the problem hiring people, they did decide that inside the asylums, they were going to have their own nursing schools. But they didn't want to give them a whole nursing program, just enough to get them through the asylum, but they wanted them to be registered nurses. The Nursing Association was like, whoa, man, if they aren't fully educated, then we can't call them registered nurses. But when they tried to bring that up, the government or whoever was making the decision was like, who cares? Call them nurses. So unfortunately, most of the nurses working in these homes were educated through these, and they weren't. It would be a lot like, I come from the veterinary world, so it would be like having kennel assistants start calling themselves veterinarians or vet techs without ever going to school, you know, just because they got hired at the hospital, they are now vet techs. You know what I'm saying? Like, they weren't qualified. But I will say, I found this one article that said the one good thing that did start out of this is they were the one program at the time that would allow males to become registered nurses, which, of course, they weren't real registered nurses, but it opened that door for men to get into the nursing field. So kudos to them for that. So I'm going to stop here because that is all I have to say about it. Not gonna lie, if you want to see me find Kellogg, I'll be probably in a different spot when we get back. But I will post another video on Wednesday. Right? Wednesday. I try to post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you want to see me talk about this stuff live and actually respond to me about it and have chit chats, you can watch me on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please click those follow and subscribe buttons, and I hope you guys enjoy. And also comment anything you know, any sites you've seen, any documentaries you've seen. I suck up information like crazy, and I would love to keep learning about all of this stuff.